Hi, I'm Charles. I own and direct Kaleidoscope Rock Academy and Kaleidoscope School of Music here in the Seattle area, and this is the third video in a series about using what I call the Pentatonic Plus approach to playing modes. This one's about Phrygian. We've already done Dorian and then an overview video, so if you want to know a little bit more about my overall framework to this whole concept, you might want to watch the first video. Today we're looking at Phrygian, which is the third mode of the major scale. So for example, if you were in the key of C, C major, you go up 3 letters, C, D, E. If you play those same notes from E to E, you would be playing E Phrygian, but it's the same notes as C major. That's the traditional way that people usually talk about modes, but what we're going to do in this series is we're going to relate every mode to its corresponding major or minor pentatonic scale, and then we're going to look at how you can use that pentatonic scale that you're already more familiar with as the basis for writing riffs or writing a solo. And you're just going to fill in the spaces in between pentatonic notes with this additional thing we call the characteristic scale step. So every mode's got one. I want to credit my guitar teacher from back east, childhood guitar teacher Rick Sherby, for introducing me to the characteristic scale step concept and the modes in general. That was clean. Got early head start on some great theory stuff with him. But yeah, let's dive in and look at what we're going to do today is A Phrygian. The reason why I picked the key of A is that this is going to relate it back to the A minor pentatonic or the A blues scale, which is really familiar to a lot of guitar players. You can apply this concept to keyboards and other instruments, but I will specifically be showing you how to do it on the fretboard with the guitar today. So first I'm going to write down my A Phrygian scale. Here on the tablet, I'll put this on the screen. So that scale, if you look it up, is A, B flat, C, D, E, F, G, A, 7-note scale, 1 flat, B flat. If I write the A minor pentatonic below that, and the reason why I'm doing that is I established in my prior video that the Phrygian is a minor quality mode, so I'm going to relate it to the related minor pentatonic. If I write down that scale, what I see right away is that the A minor pentatonic is just a subset of Phrygian. So if I did nothing but use A blues over so-called Phrygian chord progression, I still wouldn't be playing any like super bad notes. It would be kind of bland but functional. But to make it sound like Phrygian, what we do is add the characteristic scale step, which is B flat. How do I know that? The characteristic scale step is the note that distinguishes the Phrygian minor sounding mode from our more familiar natural minor scale, which is A natural minor. A natural minor would have a B, but Phrygian has a B flat, which gives it that more flamenco, Spanish, exotic, Middle Eastern kind of flavor. And how I find that is it's always 1 fret or 1/2 step up from the root. So if I label the root here as an R, then I know I just go up 1/2 step to find this characteristic scale step. So in other keys, it's not going to be called B flat, but it's always going to be a 1/2 step above the root. If I want to do this on guitar, I'm just going to write out my kind of familiar 5th fret area minor pentatonic. I'm going to write R for all the roots first. Then I'm going to write the pentatonic scale down, minor pentatonic scale down, and then I'm going to use an X to write where the B flats are. So there's 3 of them, because each box on the guitar is more than 2 octaves. And what I'm going to do when I solo is I'm going to play all the blues phrasing I want from the minor pentatonic scale or the blues scale, and then I'm going to emphasize as a recurring spice that X note. I do want to resolve a lot of my phrases still to the root because that always makes it feel like you're playing in the key that you're in, regardless of whether that key is a modal key or a regular key. So when I give you the demo, you're going to hear me kind of going back and forth between resolving blues licks to the root and then occasionally throwing that X note in there just to make it sound more exotic like this particular mode. For each one of these videos, I'm creating on the spot using my Lumi keyboard and my iPad Pro, running GarageBand. I'm just going to create a chord progression for 8 bars that sounds Phrygian. How I'm going to do that is very similar to how I'm going to solo. I'm going to play a minor chord that is very resolved and sounds like an A minor quality of scale, and then I'm going to play another chord that has the characteristic scale step of B flat in it. So I've got my session drummer here. Let's go. Whoops. Oops, I forgot to hit record. There's what I'm going to solo over. So first let me show you the scale with that note added. Doesn't really sound like a blues scale anymore, but actually that's really not how I'm going to solo it. I'm going to really solo with it more like an alternation between the blues framework and this added note. So let's give it a whirl. So here we go. Now I'll use a little bit more of the blues with its passing tone. So you can see that like I get a little bit of both characters in there. I've got some of my blues character with familiar blues licks, and I've got a little bit of the Phrygian character with that added B flat I'm throwing in there occasionally. So I think it really, without taking me away from my comfortable blues phrasing and idioms, it enabled me to give the sense of Phrygian. And that's the whole point to this Pentatonic Plus way of looking at the modes. It's not the only way, but it's a way of playing, I think, more convincingly and more organically in a mode with less study. So if you enjoyed this one, check out the next one. We're going to take a look at one of the major modes, Lydian, using the same approach. And also feel free to look back at the very first video in the series where I gave an overview of how I came up with each one of these modes having a certain quality. I'll see you next time. Thanks.